Rockin' 101, it's Minnesota Homegrown. We Collide. That is from Bonrud. They are the band of the month, and a congratulations going out to them. A huge victory for them in a matter of just several days to finish off the online voting. It's off the Save Tomorrow album, and they are in studio tonight on Minnesota Homegrown. How's it going?
Good. Excellent. Thanks for having us in.
And we got a couple of members of the band in studio. Quick introductions.
This is Paul Bonrud. I play guitar and bass.
And this is Rick Forsgren. I sing.
And Rick, your name is no strange name here in town. A lot of people remember the band Conditioned Response, also Pavlov's Dogs. Many shows at the Press Barn Parlor.
Yeah, I don't remember them all, but there were many shows there. A lot of fun. Absolutely love this town. I had a lot of good times here.
And Paul, you're actually a transplant to Minnesota. You're originally from the Seattle area.
Yeah, well, I spent 14 years in Seattle, though I was originally born and raised here in Minnesota. So I was out in Seattle for about 14 years. Came back here for a new job. Moved back here with my wife. And
you were born and raised here?
Yeah.
I thought you were raised by wolves or something.
Almost.
Oh, okay.
Grizzly bears.
Oh, okay.
Well, what sent you out to Seattle? Just kind of music scene out there, or just a job take you out that way?
It was job and music scene. And the funny thing is, when I moved out there, it was late May of '92, and I had left my band. I was in a band out here called Citizen Kane. We're just '80s, pop rock kind of stuff, and figured I'd just be able to pick up where I left off out there. But I was there for a week, and I got the Rocket, which is the Seattle magazine, kind of like the City Pages was here, for finding bands. And you look in the back for the bands that are searching for musicians and what their influences are. And I'm looking, it's like, oh my God, I don't know any of these bands, but it's the grunge thing. So here I've been playing Van Halen and Def Leppard, in bars out here, and you go out there, and that's not what they wanted to at all. So it was the grunge scene. But
so it was a pretty different vibe altogether than out there.
Completely.
You didn't have a single thing to wear, did you?
No, I didn't have any flannel.
I was going to say, coming from Minnesota, you should at least had a couple flannel shirts.
The scary thing is my favorite guitar was...
But they still had the sleeves on them.
Yeah, my favorite guitar was a pink guitar that I got from Tim Compton, who used to play for Mariah and Pretty Boy out here. So that just wasn't grunge-worthy. Say the least.
Yeah, so you said about '92, and that was pretty much kind of the height of the whole grunge era.
It was. It was the absolute peak, and unfortunately, at that time, I didn't like it, which is too bad. In retrospect, I kind of wish I would have sold out and played grunge, because I was in the right place at the right time, and I actually did have some really, really strong connections, but I didn't feel it. I didn't like it. I was still too focused on trying to become a better musician, and I stayed true to myself and kept working on, my own original music, and I guess, this is where I am.
So then what brought you back to Minnesota?
Job change. And okay. My parents are getting older and stuff, and I wasn't looking for the job opportunity, but somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, would you be willing to come back here and work for me if I move you back? And that's how it all happened.
Now, obviously, the music bug still kind of bit you on that, and...
never goes away. It's my biggest passion.
Now, did you start off Bonrud right away when you came back, or were you involved? Okay.
Yeah, and I had a CD out 8 years ago in Europe and Japan on Frontiers Records and Marquee Avalon. That was the first self-titled Bonrud CD. And that one had a different singer. It was Dave Hendricks who sang on that. He was a singer out in Seattle. But of course, when I moved back here, I needed to find a new singer, and of course, I was fortunate enough to meet Rick, and had a lot of great recommendations. And you don't find great people like Rick through Craigslist ads. It's at this point in our career, it's all networking, who you know, and recommendations. And
he stalked me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that was actually going to be the next question I was going to lead into. How did you guys kind of team up on this?
Yeah, I had some recommendations from some guys like Lance King and some others that mentioned that Rick would be great. And I kind of whittled it down to me about 5 guys locally that I thought really had the chops to do it. I'm pretty picky about what I want, and not too many people have that range and control that Rick has.
Well, absolutely. I remember him from the shows in town, and incredible voice. One of the few people I could hear in town that could sing Queensryche, sing Whitesnake, bands like that could hit those higher pitches.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, and best of all,
you guys are making me blush.
Have another drink.
Yeah. Right. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah. Had a little overflow there.
We're good.
Boddington's Ale fuels the band.
Cheers.
Yes,
Cheers.
But yeah, best of all, Rick's a great guy and really easy to work with. We're great friends, and that's what makes it all fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, the getting together in the studio and the amount of time that we spend with each other working on this, it's, you know, a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into one song. It's a 4-minute song, but the vocals on it were tracked 150 times. And
again.
And Paul's a slave master. I mean, you didn't quite get that right. Do it again. No, do it again. No, do it again.
I'm a very gentle taskmaster, but I do pursue the perfection.
But it also seems to me, too, aside from the professional side, you guys are pretty tight outside of the band as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We go out to eat with our wives and stuff, and, you know, Rick and I do stuff away from music, too. You know,
Hunting pheasants,
yeah.
And fishing, and...
Yeah. It's...
you know, Minnesota stuff.
We're a couple of Scandinavians. It's in the blood.
On with the album, you were talking about a lot of the... I guess known people that have kind of put time in this and effort, signed to the, it was Escape?
Escape Music is the record label in Europe, and it's on Rubicon Music in Japan. Though, honestly, I produced and recorded this whole CD in a bubble. I self-financed it. I have a really good friend, Keith Olsen, who's a famous record producer. He's won 6 Grammys, sold 125 million records. He produced, you know, the big 3 Whitesnake albums in the 80s, Ozzy, Night Ranger, Sammy Hagar, Rick Springfield, Pat Benatar, Foreigner, Fleetwood Mac.
Stop! Yeah. You're killing me.
I have no idea who any of them people
heard
are.
any of those people.
Little people. And me! You
Yeah.
know, but he's a good friend of mine. You know, I still pay him, but he gives me a pretty good deal. But anyway, yeah. So Keith and I co-produced it, and Richard Baker, who's a friend of Keith's, who's a well-known composer and stuff. He does a lot of screenplay, or not screenplay, soundtrack music stuff now, but he played for Santana for 6 years and Sega, and got to start playing for Gary Wright, you know, the song Dreamweaver. From yeah. So though when I told Rick, the thing that impressed both me and Rick the most about Richard's list of stuff he's done is he did the soundtrack stuff for Buck Rogers in the 25th century, the old 70s, you know, beady beady beady
And Tweaky.
Yes.
God. I think
okay, Buck.
I think we all just dated ourselves.
I think we all outed ourselves as geeks too, but that's okay. But yeah, so
Erin Gray was hot.
oh, was she?
Oh.
Oh yeah, she was very hot.
I won't get into much more than that.
But yeah, so Richard Baker, you know, he played for Santana for 6 years, and he was doing keys for us, and Eric Ragnow, another friend of mine who's Fergie Fredrickson from Toto and Graham Bonnet and Jeff Scott Soto and stuff. He did keyboards on some of the stuff, and another friend of mine, Dave Gross, did some of the keyboards. And my drummer is Paul Higgins, and Paulie and I were in a whole bunch of bands out in Seattle. In fact, I've made more recordings with Paulie, and I'm sure Paulie would say the same, that he's made more recordings with me than any other musicians. Just we've done lots of stuff together, and he's a great guy. He's still out in Seattle, unfortunately.
I was just going to say he's still out there. So live shows, when you do them on this side, you have obviously somebody else.
Probably. We haven't quite decided.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really painful thing because we both like Paulie a lot.
Right.
And we brought him out here to shoot a video just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple of videos.
Yeah, two videos. So I flew him out, and you know, he stayed at my house and stuff, and it was great.
We drank Boddingtons.
Oh yes, yeah. So it kind of depends, but obviously, if we're gonna play a lot of gigs, we'd, you know, really have to find a local drummer.
Okay. Writing process. How does that kind of go with everybody involved?
Well, for this record, this is Paul speaking. I probably wrote about 75% of the material, you know, lyrics and music, though Rick has some co-writing credits on quite a few of the songs, and a lot of it was, you know, I'd get the lyrics close, and Rick's actually a much better lyricist than I am, and so it's great to turn it over to Rick and let him polish up my stuff and like on We Collide, for example, the song that you just played, the verses, I wrote twice as many lyrics for the verses as what you played, but
You were compensating for something.
yeah, I was compensating for my lack of ability to sing myself. The more words, you don't have to carry the notes as much. But with somebody like Rick, he says, well, I'll just won't sing the last two lines, and I'll just spread out the melody on the first two lines, and so that's how it kind of worked. But then there are three songs, Save Tomorrow, Last Sunrise, and American Dream, that I wrote all the music and Rick wrote all the lyrics, which was great. I love his input, and we're working on some new stuff right now. I was just tracking some bass for a new song today, and so I've written all the music, but I'm letting Rick write the lyrics.
And I think the collaborative nature of what we're doing is we've really kind of grown into it. For myself, coming into it really second party after Paul moved here, and he kind of had the ball rolling and was looking for someone to fill that missing space that he had. I was really coming in with one hand tied behind my back, and it was the efforts were really to fill the spaces that were missing. And now moving forward with the new stuff, it's much more of a collaborative effort where Paul's writing music and I'm writing lyrics, and even in some instances I'm writing some music, and it's much more of a collaborative effort. And I think the next music that you start seeing from us is going to be really much more of a collaboration as opposed to kind of finishing up something that got started.
And frankly, it's more fun that way. It's cool to write a song by yourself, but it's a lot more fun to write a song with a friend and have a broader set of input, because everybody has different perspectives and brings something new to the party, and it just becomes much more multi-dimensional with an input, especially when it's a strong collaborator like Rick, who has a lot to offer.
Well, it's kind of like what we were talking about beforehand. There's obviously the business side to the music, the label, marketing, and everything else, but you got to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like I told you before we did the interview, the best part of the music business is the music. That is why we do it, because we love the music.
Yeah. Because everybody else just gives you the business.
Yeah.
Now, the Escape Music label, it's kind of a world. I mean, it is worldwide as far, and just kind of doing some research beforehand. On Facebook, the website, and stuff like that, it seems like Bonrud has really grown a very strong following over in Europe.
Yep, yeah, definitely a strong following in Europe, and not too bad in Japan too. We actually had one song that went to number 11 in one of the charts in Japan, northern Japan, for the first CD, a song called Date with Destiny, which ironically I thought was in the lower tier, like the lower half of my songs of my first CD, but that was the one that was in the top 20 out there for 5 weeks. So you never know. But yeah, so we do have a lot of fans overseas, which is kind of cool. And have to admit that they were helping vote us in for Band of the Month here on Rockin' 101 in St. Cloud. So yes, there were people from all over Europe and Scandinavia and Japan that were also voting, which is why we won by such a landslide.
You guys thought of doing any shows overseas?
It would be fun. That has been proposed to me before, but the labels don't have money for funding that sort of thing, and it's very expensive to fly out there. And then there's the whole fear of, well, who'll come to the gig? It costs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I think we got to start by playing a local gig here in Minnesota.
That was going to be another question too. Have you done any shows locally, or what's in the plans as far as local shows?
We don't have anything scheduled yet. Rick and I would like to play about 4 gigs a year, one song a quarter for them, or one gig a quarter. We're kind of working on just teaching ourselves the parts right now, because I've got to convey, what guitar parts I want Rick to play, and work out some of the harmonies. And once we kind of flesh out the songs, just sitting down with guitars and vocals ourselves, then we'll add the bass and the drums.
And there's a big difference between doing a studio album and pulling the stuff off live. It's you really, in the studio have the luxury of being able to layer these things carefully. And doing a live show not only requires practicing ahead of time, but also requires leaning on other talented people. It's not something that just the two of us can do. So we really hope to put that together. It's definitely the next step in, making this real for us.
Yeah.
And a couple more things too, really quick too, on the album, the artwork.
Oh yes, Adriana Mello. She was the artist that did the artwork for me. She's drawn Catwoman, Ms. Marvel, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Birds of Prey, Star Wars for Marvel and DC. I'm kind of a comic book geek, and
this is Melody, by the way.
Yes.
Her name is Melody.
Melody.
She's not naughty. She's just drawn that way.
She's rather gifted.
The Roger Rabbit reference.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was sort of a fun excuse for me to work with one of my favorite comic book artists.
All right, and as far as the new album itself, well, shouldn't call it new. It's been out for a little while. But where can people go purchase the album or sample?
Well, go to www.bonrud.com, bonrud.com. It's also on iTunes, of course, CD Baby, Amazon. But if you go to bonrud.com, you can buy it there. We're selling it for only $9.99 in the U.S., including shipping, and we'll even autograph it for you. So it's a pretty good deal. We just want to get the music out there and get heard.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys braving the weather, coming into the studio. Not too bad right now, but I know you're going to want to get back before it gets way too bad tonight. But
hey, thanks for having us. We really appreciate you taking the time to let us come in here and talk about what we're doing, and we really appreciate your show and think you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We're going to close with a song off the album. I'll let you guys pick which one we're going to finish with.
I guess we're going to go with End of Days, right?
Okay, let's
Little
go.
story behind it at all? Or?
That one, well, the story really is, I wrote that one for my wife, and the chorus, I already had the music written, but I didn't have the lyrics, and my wife and I were flying somewhere at 35,000 feet, and the chorus just hit me as I'm sitting there, and I got out a notebook, and I wrote down all the lyrics for the chorus right there, and just instantly, I knew it was going to be a great song, and just put a smile on my face for the rest of the flight, because then all I had to do was come up with some verses and a bridge, and yeah, but it's really a song that's about timeless love. I will love you till the end of my days. It's not not a song about the end of the world. It's about loving somebody forever.
All right, thank you very much. End of Days. Once again, the album is entitled Save Tomorrow from Bonrud. Thanks for coming in. It is Rockin' 101's Minnesota Homegrown. Rockin' 101, it's Minnesota Homegrown, some babes in Toyland and Sweet 69. It is Tim Ryan, in studio guest tonight. We've got an interview coming up with Bonrud. They're hanging out in studio right now, checking out the show. And they have brought a box of CDs along with them. And should we give away a few
Free
tonight?
stuff!
Yes.
Should we say the first 5 posters on the Minnesota Homegrown page? You get yourself a Save Tomorrow CD.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, so head to Facebook, Minnesota Homegrown, and as I said, first 5 posters will get a CD, and we'll find out a little bit more about Bonrud tonight.
Cool.
All right, let's get back into things with some Matrakas. It's Fist to the Face on Rockin' 101's Minnesota Homegrown.